I am making an Earthbound Immortal deck profile for the Genesis format. For anyone that doesn't know, somehow Genesis is a thing where all cards have a point value. Your deck can contain no more than 100 points. And most cards, such as the Earthbound cards, are worth no points. So I figured, why not make a video for a Genesis format deck? Start off with the monsters. Oops. I play 3 copies of Earthbound Prisoner Groundskeeper. Earthbound Prisoner Groundskeeper has the effect that was normal or summoned, or was it normal or special summoned? Oh, we forgot that part. It was normal or special summoned. You can special summon a level 6, or was it 6 or 5? I apologize. I thought I had these memorized. You can special summon a level 5 or lower Earthbound monster from your deck or graveyard. And then its other effect, as well as there's a field spell card on the field, or a face-up field spell in play, then your Earthbound monsters cannot be destroyed. And then next, I play 3 copies of Earthbound Prisoner Linewalker. Linewalker has the effect on summon to let you add a Harmonic Synchro Fusion or Earthbound Prison from your deck to your hand. And then during your opponent, or you manage to card from your graveyard, target a monster summoned from the extra deck that your opponent controls. Return it to the extra deck, and then your opponent can special summon a monster with the same name. Which that doesn't really come up that often, but it only matters for one of the monsters in the extra deck, which I have done thorough testing with Earthbound. This effect has never come up once, because it just hasn't been that good of an option to use. Though I do appreciate that it does exist. Next, I play 3 copies of Earthbound Prisoner Stonesweeper. Stonesweeper has the effect that you can discard it to then be able to add any level, level 4 or lower Fiend Tuner. Add any level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from your deck to your hand, so it's to let you grab Linewalker or Groundkeeper. And then it's also a free summon while there's a face-up field spell. Next is 2 monsters I'm considering taking out of the deck, which is 2 copies of Earthbound Greater Linewalker. Greater Linewalker, I probably will leave in the deck and take out 2 other cards instead. But Greater Linewalker has the effect that if you control a Synchro monster and there's a Synchro monster in your graveyard, then you can special summon it. Then once per turn, you can add an Earthbound Immortal from your deck to your hand. And then its final effect is if a Earthbound Immortal monster is normal summoned while its card's on your field, then you can change your opponent's life points to 3,000. And then I play 1 of each of the Earthbound Immortals. Play 1 copy of Weird Coach Araska. All the Earthbound Immortals share the effect that they can attack your opponent directly. They cannot be targeted for attacks. And that there is not a face-up field spell on the field. They're self-destruct. And then after that, they'll have their own unique effects, where Rear Coach Araska lets you return up to 3 cards on your field back to your deck to make your opponent discard an equal number of cards that you return to your deck. And then Raska gains 1,000 attack points for each card discarded. Then I play 1 copy of Asilapiscu. Asilapiscu has the effect that when it leaves the field, other than by its own effect, it destroys all monsters your opponent controls, or all face-up monsters your opponent controls, and then inflicts 800 points of damage for each monster that was destroyed. Kokoraya does the exact same thing as Asilapiscu, except instead of dealing damage, it just destroys everything. And not just your opponent's cards, it is a Black Rose Dragon-like effect. Then I play 1 copy of Earthbound Immortal Kusulu. Kusulu has the effect that if it would be destroyed by battle, you can tribute 1 other monster you control instead. And then you get to have your opponent's life points. Which, I thought that was a weird effect because the Immortals cannot be targeted for attacks, so in order to trigger this effect, you do have to have Kusulu attack into something stronger than it. Next, I play probably my favorite of the Immortals, which is Earthbound Immortal Chaku Chalua. Chalua actually has two unique effects, where the first one is once per turn you can activate Chaku Chalua's effect to then deal damage equal to half its defense. So at one point I actually had a deck built where the whole point of it was raising Chaku Chalua's defense as much as possible to increase the amount of burn damage you do. But its other effect is while it is in defense mode, your opponent cannot enter the battle phase, which I actually really like. Then I play one copy of Kokopakapu. I still think Kokopakapu has the worst effect of the Immortals, which is if it destroys a monster in battle, then your opponent takes damage equal to that destroyed monster's attack points. I feel like it has the worst effect, but it also has... It's one of the three strongest Immortals. Two, if you don't include Worko Charaska's effect, making your opponent discard 3. And then lastly is one copy of Earthbound Immortal Uru, which lets you tribute one monster you control to take control of one monster your opponent controls until the end of the turn. And then lastly, for the 8 Earthbound Immortals, because I kind of forgot there is technically another Immortal. I play 3 copies of Earthbound Immortal Red Nova. Earthbound Immortal Red Nova is really only used for its field or grave effect, which is that you can banish it. And I think it's something else too, like banish this another Earthbound. Let's see, it was... Oh yeah, the other thing I forgot about the Earthbound Immortals is they all also share the effect of there can only be one face-up Earthbound Immortal on the field. But it has the effect, during the main phase, quick effect, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard, send an Earthbound Immortal monster, or a Red Dragon Archfiend from your hand or face-up monster zone to the graveyard, then apply one of these effects, where you special summon an Earthbound monster from your deck or extra deck, or you can special summon a Red Nova Dragon from your extra deck that's treated as a synchro summon. Which really, this is only I actually only ever use that to summon more Earthbound Immortals. But I do, in fact, play a single copy of Red Nova Dragon just because I think it'd be funny. And then for these spell cards, I play one copy of Earthbound Whirlwind. This card is a Harpy's Feather Duster while you control an Earthbound Immortal. Then I play one copy of Harmonic Synchro Fusion. I used to play 3 of this, but I realized you really only need the 1. Where this just lets you tribute 2 monsters you control, a tuner and a non-tuner, to special summon from your extra deck a fusion and a synchro monster that have their that you can be made using those 2 monsters. It's treated as a fusion and synchro summon. Which I remember back when Baron de Fleur was playable, this is actually used in the... Just remember what the archetype was. It was used in Runic because you could make... what was it? It was something like you make Draco's Depelia and Baron de Fleur because you can use the level 1 tuner and the level 9 fusion. But anyway, I just like this because it's able to make a bunch of monsters easily. Anyway, next I play 2 copies of Earthbound Fusion. Earthbound Fusion can only be activated during the main phase unless there's a face-up field spell. But it just lets you fusion summon a Dark Fusion monster using monsters from your hand or field as material. Which, that effect actually does make me want to play a copy of Guardian Chimera, just because you can technically make it with Earthbound Fusion. And then Earthbound Fusion also has the grave effect if you can banish it from your graveyard during the turn it wasn't sent there, to then be able to to special summon an Earthbound monster from your hand. So this can actually let you just summon an Earthbound Immortal from the hand if you have too many in your hand. And then everything so far has been 0 points. So for 5 points each, I play 2 copies of Allure of Darkness. This card lets you draw 2 cards and then banish a dark monster from your hand. But if you cannot banish a dark monster, then your entire hand just goes to the graveyard. For 0 points, is 3 copies of Earthbound Prison. Earthbound Prison, when activated, lets you target a monster your opponent controls to then be able to negate that monster's effects while Prison is on the field. It gives you an additional normal summon an Earthbound monster each turn. And then lastly, if this card is destroyed while you have an Earthbound monster on field or in your graveyard, then you can negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent controls till the end of the turn, and then have your opponent's life points. The dumb thing I found out with this card is that is not once per turn, because I had 3 of these in hand. My opponent, for some reason, waited for me to summon a monster to figure out what I was playing, because I had summoned Groundkeeper, or no, it wasn't Groundkeeper. I had summoned Line Walker to activate its effect to search, because I was going to grab Harmonic Fusion, use this, normal Groundkeeper summon Stone Sweeper, make a thing where I can summon a couple of cards, and then my opponent just, for some reason, instead of waiting for the Line Walker to resolve, they just shotgun and eradicate Epidemic Virus, destroyed 3 of the prisons that were in my hand, and that's when I realized, oh crap, all 3 prisons are triggering now. So my opponent, just by using 1 Eradicate Epidemic Virus, just immediately caused themselves to lose, 7,000 of their life points? Which I thought was hilarious. And then for 0 points, at least at the time of this video, I also play 3 Tokusano Shinkyojin. This is just a card that lets you draw 2 cards by sending monsters from your hand or field to the graveyard whose total levels equal 10. That is any of the 7 original Earthbound Immortals, I'm only playing this because I'm playing 1 of each of them, so there's 7 targets for it. And then for 30 points each, so this is the last remaining 90 points, I play 3 copies of Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed just lets you draw 2 cards. Fairly simple. Its text is literally just 2 words and a number. And then one of the cards I'm definitely considering taking out of the deck is 1 copy of Earthbound Resonance. Earthbound Resonance just makes it so that if a monster that special summon from the extra deck is if a monster special summon from the extra deck is destroyed by card effect, except during the damage step, you can target 1 of them. Each player takes damage equal to half its attack. And then when your Dark Synchro monster special summon from the extra deck is targeted for an attack, you can target 1 card in the field and destroy it. I just think it's kind of funny, but I don't think I'll actually keep it in the deck. Next, I play 2 copies of Earthbound Release. I've actually won several games with Earthbound Release just because for some reason my opponent just never expects it. But Earthbound Release can only be activated when your opponent special summons a level 6 or higher monster. You can then tribute a level 10 or higher Earthbound monster to then be able to destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and then deal damage to your opponent equal to their combined attack. So I do like that it's able to board wipe your opponent, and in my case, it's actually beaten my opponent quite a few times. And then lastly, I play 3 copies of Earthbound Wave. Earthbound Wave is a spell trap negate while I control an Earthbound Immortal monster. I'm thinking about taking these out as well, just because I feel like spell trap negates aren't that strong anymore. But one thing I will go ahead and say is the cards I want to are 3 copies of Garbage Ogre, which its only effect is you can send it from your hand to the graveyard to then be able to add a Garbage Lord from your deck to your hand. And then Garbage Lord is a free summon at the cost of 2,000 life points, but is a level 5 Dark monster, which you can actually use with this deck since the non-tuner can be generic. But like I said, though, it's mainly just here because I would like to use Garbage Lord so that there's 2 level 5, there's 6 level 5 monsters in the deck that can be used for the synchro summons. This is mainly just because I really want Earthbound to get a couple new prisoners to fit the deck. But that's it for the main deck. Like I said, the main deck is it has the 100 points and 3 Pot of Greed and 2 Lore Darkness. For the extra deck, I play 3 copies of Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlin. Geo Gremlin has the effect of, during the main phase, you can target one monster your opponent controls. Your opponent gets to choose one of two things to happen to that monster, which is either they destroy the monster or increase your life points by that targeted monster's attack. And then during the battle phase, Gremlin has the quick effect to be able to fusion summon an Earthbound monster by banishing from your field or graveyard. Next, I play 3 copies of Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlina. Geo Gremlina is the one you want to have on field when you use Gremlin's first effect. Because Gremlina has the effect that when summoned, lets you add an Earthbound monster from your deck to your hand. Gremlina can also let you target an Earthbound Synchro monster you control, so that monster can attack your opponent directly that turn. And then its final effect is, if an opponent's monster is destroyed by card effect, then you can use Gremlina's effect to deal damage to your opponent equal to that destroyed monster or monster's attack points. I believe that's how it works. It's either all of it or half of it. Let's see. Target one of those destroyed monsters. Inflict damage equal to that monster's original attack. Okay. And then, I don't know if I've been saying it, but all of the effects for the prisoners and servants are hard once per turns. Next, I play 3 copies of Earthbound Servant Geo Griffin. Earthbound Servant Geo Griffin has the effect that once per turn, as a quick effect, you can target an Earthbound monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense mode. That's part of the reason why Chaku Chalua is my favorite, because if you can get Chaku Chalua in the graveyard, this can bring back Chalua in defense, and your opponent just can't attack. But Geo Griffin also has the effect that if it leaves the field because of its opponent's card, then you can activate its effect and target one card your opponent controls, inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for every different Earthbound monster on your field or in your graveyard, and then destroy that card. So I just really like the fact that Earthbound is starting to become a burn deck for some reason. I say starting, but it's been like this for, I think, a few years now. I think these were released in 2022. Anyway, next I play 3 copies of Earthbound Servant Geo Kraken. This monster is the reason that Earthbound Prisoner Linewalker has the grave effect it does, as Geo Kraken has the effect that when your opponent special summons from the extra deck, then you can activate Kraken's effect to then destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls that were summoned that turn. I'm trying to make sure I don't actually get the effect wrong. Your opponent that were special summoned this turn, and then inflict 800 points of damage for each monster that was destroyed. And then the other effect Geo Kraken has is that when summoned, it lets you add a field spell from your deck to your hand. And then next, I play 2 copies of Earthbound Servant Geo Grasha. Geo Grasha used to be a 3 of, but until Red Nova released, and I thought it'd be hilarious to use Red Nova Dragon. But Geo Grasha has the effect that it cannot be special summoned except by fusion summoning. And then at the start of the damage step, if it battles, you can activate its effect, reduce the opposing monster's attack to 0. And then if it destroys a monster in battle, then it destroys all cards your opponent controls. And then lastly, if this card leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon any Earthbound monster from your deck or extra deck except for another copy of Geo Grasha. Well, it doesn't say it can't be Geo Grasha, but its first effect of has to be fusion summoned does. And then lastly, I play the 1 Red Nova Dragon. Honestly, I'll probably replace Red Nova Dragon with a copy of Guardian Chimera, because why not? It'd be funny. But Red Nova Dragon has the effect that it gains 500 attack for every tuner in your graveyard. And then if your opponent declares an attack, then you can banish this card until the end of the turn, or until your standby phase. Select or target, remove this card from play and negate the attack. And then during the end phase, especially on this card if it was moved from play by effect. And lastly, it cannot be destroyed by spells, traps, and monster effects. Like I said, I'll probably end up replacing this with Guardian Chimera, and then the 3 Earthbound Waves, Earthbound Resonance. I'll probably keep Earthbound Whirlwind in because it deals with back row. But I'll probably take out Earthbound Whirlwind and one other card for the 3 Garbage Lords and Garbage Ogre. But that is it for my Genesis Earthbound deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas for deck slates to be made in the future, or deck slates to face each other, feel free to comment down below. And I always read the comments, and thank you for watching.